What's up guys? So in today's video, as you could tell, we're taking a look at the Galax GeForce RTX 4070 EX Gamer White Edition. And this is one of the best looking RTX 40 series cards out on the market in any class, be it 4090, 4080, 4070. This is one of the best looking cards out there. And especially if you're going with an all white aesthetic build, this thing fits in perfectly. It's got an all white shroud, a white backplate, and one of the biggest selling features is definitely the RGB fan setup on this graphics card. So it's the only RTX 40 series card, 4070 at least, that has this RGB fan setup, and it looks awesome, especially in a vertical GPU mode. This thing looks the part and will definitely fit into a super high-end gaming build, while also maybe keeping prices down compared to, let's say, a 4070 Ti or a 4080, while still pumping out really competitive performance, especially against last gen 3080 and even 3080 Ti in some titles, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. But first, let's just take a look at the unboxing experience of this RTX 4070 and what you can expect it to look like in your gaming rig. So let's get this GeForce RTX 4070 Galax EX Gamer White Edition card unboxed. And first things first, what you really see off the bat is those clear fans, the 102mm one in the center, the 92mm ones on the left and right of it. Overall, a really good looking card. From a port selection perspective, we get 3 DisplayPort, 1 HDMI. Overall, this card looks really cool. It's a 3 heat pipe design and a very beefy cooler with a flow-through design on that back fan, all powered by a single 8-pin PCIe power cable. And the backplate is metal, cool to the touch, which should be good for VRM cooling and just cooling in general. So when compared to the Galax 4070 Ti, very similar design, minus those RGB fans. And of course it is a little bit thinner as well, going from a 3-slot card down to a 2-slot card. But when you power this thing on, it really stands out with that RGB fan setup. Like overall, you put this white card with those RGB fans in a white case and an all white kind of build, and this thing looks awesome. And from an RGB configuration, fan setup, and OC setup on this graphics card, it's all extremely simple with the Galax Extreme Tuner software. So with Extreme Tuner, you can of course leave the card in motherboard sync mode for the RGB and sync off the motherboard header for your RGB lighting to match with the rest of your build. But you can also customize everything with the Extreme Tuner software and really make the card your own for your build and kind of change the setup for the graphics card compared to the rest of the hardware in your build. And it's extremely simple, extremely intuitive to go through and use the different RGB modes, and it really makes the card stand out from the rest of your build. You of course also have all fan configuration modes, so it does have a 0 RPM steady state when you're not really running anything on the card, but even when you crank the fans up, they're not that loud. So overall, I mean, not crazy loud fans, and temperatures don't get crazy either, which we'll see in a little bit, and the RGB customization is really cool. You also have a one-click OC feature with this card that allows you to get a quick overclock of like 15 to 30 megahertz on the core just to give you a little bit of bump to performance. And you can do all of the same stuff from the Extreme Tuner app on your phone. So either with an Android or an Apple device, you can connect your phone to your PC and get full control over your graphics card to do things like overclocking, fan setup, and RGB, which I'll show you in just a second. So first things first, you can of course do an overclock with the one-click OC, but you can also do a manual OC with your phone in order to configure the graphics card just the way you want from an overclocking perspective. You can also take full advantage of an on-screen display and well as RGB control from your phone and fan control as well. So a really cool addition with the phone app. So as you guys can see, the build quality and software experience that comes along with this RTX 4070 is extremely compelling against a lot of the competition out there, especially at this RTX 4070 price point. But how does this thing stack up when it comes to performance? So we're going to take a look at temperatures as well as gaming benchmarks right now. So let's test the temperature performance of this card. So overall, fans stay right around 50% RPM, and that is extremely quiet with this card. And temperatures only hit 62 degrees max, running firm mark at 100% utilization. So we did hit 215 watt power draw on the card, which is pretty good considering the TDP is 200 watts for a 4070. And from a gaming perspective, we looked at COD MW2, Cyberpunk 2077, F122, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider to test out the RTX 4070 against the competition. So first things first, when it comes to 1440p performance, very similar between a 4070 and our 3080 Ti from Gigabyte. So Cyberpunk 2077 is really where the 4070 led over the previous generation because of DLSS performance on the latest gen. In an F1 2022 setup, again, the 3080 Ti kind of takes the lead against the 4070, but then in MW2, we're looking at pretty much the exact same performance between the 3080 Ti and the 4070. When we move over to 4K performance, now you can see a little bit of a difference. So the 3080 Ti now takes over from the 4070 in 4K. And if we look at Cyberpunk 2077 first, the 4070 still kicks or beats the 3080 Ti in the DLSS kind of ray tracing setup, especially with the new gen hardware. But in F1 2022, the 3080 Ti takes over. MW2, it takes over again by like 10%. And then when we look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider, again, it's about a 10% to even 20% performance uplift with the 3080 Ti. So at 1440p, 4070 extremely competitive. At 4K, the 3080 Ti kind of beats it. And with the used market of RTX 3080 Ti's going for right around the same MSRP as a 4070, you're probably better off going with the one generation newer GPU just for overall longevity. Overall, I am extremely impressed by this RTX 4070. We've known for a few months now how the performance of the 4070 stacked up against the likes of last gen and current gen GPUs from both AMD and Nvidia, and although maybe they were a little bit disappointing, the overall aesthetic that you get with this graphics card as well as the overall performance is extremely compelling at the price point. When it comes to actual performance, we were looking at probably in between an RTX 3080 and 3080 Ti from last generation, and very, very competitive with those cards. And when it comes to the actual aesthetics, build quality, overall feel of this GPU, it looks amazing, especially in an all-white build. And even if you have a darker build theme, you can definitely go with the black version of this EX Gamer. Overall, it's just a really compelling GPU in today's world of 2023, where graphics card prices are kind of still insane. But if you're looking for this graphics card or the black version, there will be a link down in the description below for you to go pick one up on Amazon. If you have any questions or comments about this GPU, definitely leave those down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.